Find the equation of the tangent line to the graph of f of x equals x squared minus x at a equals -1. This a is the x-coordinate. To find the equation of the tangent, we would need a point x, y, where x is given -1. We still need to find out what y is. And we also need the slope. This slope is the derivative of the function, but at the given x, where x is a, equals -1. If x is -1, then f of a, or f of -1, is -1 squared minus -1. We simply we substitute x with -1. The input is now -1, and then simplified. -1, the quantity squared, is +1. Minus -1 is a +1. So this is 2. And so the point of tangency is x equals -1, y equals 2. Next, we find the slope. The slope is f prime, but at x equals -1, so f prime of -1. By the definition, the algebraic approach, this is the limit at h go to 0 of f of a plus h, where a is -1. And so this is f of -1 plus h minus f of a. But again, a is -1 over h. This is the difference quotient with the limit in the front, where a is -1. In order to evaluate this expression, we will need to find out what f of -1 is, but we did. We found that f of -1 is 2. We also need to find out what f of -1 plus h is, which is the first term here. F of -1 plus h is, using this given equation, the input is now -1 plus h, and so everywhere we see an x, we replace it with -1 plus h. Minus, again, replace x with -1 plus h. And everything else is the same, the square, the minus sign. -1 plus h, the quantity squared, is -1 squared plus 2 times -1 times h plus h squared. And then we distribute this negative. -1 is +1 and minus h. This is 1 minus 2h plus h squared plus 1 minus h. 1 plus 1 is 2, and so this will give us 2 minus 2h, and another minus h is minus 3h, and then plus h squared. We combined like terms. And then we put this back to this definition, including the limit notation. We replace f of -1 plus h with the expression 2 minus 3h plus h squared. And then we also replace f of -1 with 2. The equal sign is f of -1 is 2, and f of -1 plus h is now 2 minus 3h plus h squared over h. If we do this correctly, then we should be able to simplify the f of -1, which is 2. So 2 minus 2 is 0. And according to our procedure, we always try to factor out h in the numerator only h. If we factor out h in the numerator, we have h times the quantity, -3 plus h, and there is still h in the denominator. If we do this correctly, we should be able to cancel out h in the denominator. What we have left is the limit at h goes to 0 of -3 plus h, and then we evaluate this limit. At h go to 0, -3 plus h go to -3. And so This negative 3 is the slope of the tangent line that we are looking for. The equation for the tangent line is y minus the given y value, which we computed. It was 2 equals the slope, which is negative 3 times x minus the x coordinate, which is negative 1. This is of the form point slope form. Y minus y naught equals mx minus x naught, where x naught is a, negative 1, and y naught is 2, the corresponding y values for the given x. Simplifying this, we have y minus 2 equals negative 3x plus 1, or y minus 2 equals negative 3x minus 3. Y equals negative 3x minus 3, and we add 2 to both sides of the equation. Finally, we obtain y equals negative 3x minus 1. This is the equation of the tangent line to the curve, but only at a equals x equals negative 1.